All right. Welcome to the Michael Ray podcast, episode 1. The very first time, the maiden voyage. Today is Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. We're talking about immigration. It looks like there is a group of migrants that are moving from Central and South America through Mexico and to our southern border. Today, I heard that President Trump is going to be sending military to that border to make sure to secure it. In the meantime, until the wall can be built. I was looking for some clips of him saying it. I saw it once, so I know he did say that. And I haven't really been able to find anything else because it was really soon that he just said it. And so we have a situation on our hands where the left and the right keep doing battle over sovereignty of the United States. And I think they've picked the wrong president to mess with when it comes to testing President Trump, because he's a guy that's going to he's a doer and not a talker. And so they may be in for a bit of a shock when, and I believe this will happen, that he will repel this caravan of invaders is really what they are. I mean, to act like they're some kind of 10-year-olds dreamers, or are these suffering children, like we're supposed to take them in as Mother Teresa would. That's not who these people are. These are these guys, these are gang members. They're people who have criminal records in the countries in which they're coming from. Why do you think they're trying to get to somewhere else? Well, because they're not worth much in the countries they come from. And that's why they end up where they end up. Now, that's not true all over the world. A lot of times, the United States goes in and they blow everything up and people have no choice but to go somewhere. But if you notice that where they're going isn't random chance, whether it be moving across Mexico and trying to reach the United States southern border, or if it's Muslims from all over the Middle East making their way into France and Sweden, into the UK. That's not random chance that they just start walking in a certain direction and they just happen to stop wherever it is they stop. Canada is part of that. They've invaded the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom. Sweden is pretty much ruined now. France is destroyed. So what this is an invasion of the West. Now we can go back and say, well, whose fault is this? George W. Bush has a lot of fault in this because he invaded Iraq when it didn't need to be. In pretty much the entire Middle East is now a mess, but that was the plan. See, this plan has been in motion since the 1990s. And in fact, I can prove that to you. If you remember, way back when 9/11 happened, actually just after 9/11 happened, there is a clip of General Wesley Clark speaking, and he spills the beans as to what the plan was for 9/11, why 9/11 needed to happen, and what they were planning to do. they, being our government, planning to do after 9/11. Let me see if I can bring it up. Let's see. I'm going to my site, which is michaelray.com. There's a dash in between Michael and Ray. Maybe I should call it michael-ray.com if people might catch on to what that is. But here I'm at the Post. General Wesley Clark. Wars were planned 7 countries. So now I'll play you the audio of the general.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you gotta come in. You gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Well, that should sound pretty...
The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa. Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa. The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
All right, well, make sure it's over. Last time it tricked me and I jumped in. All right, so there you have it. These things were planned out ahead of time, and I'm not trying to get off topic. Our topic is immigration, but this does tie into immigration because of this plan that included 9/11. They needed 9/11 to happen so that they can go and invade all these countries, and of course they go in, they blow the place up, and they take a place that was relatively stable and make it completely lawless. And there's just nothing. Iraq has been destroyed. A lot of the Middle East has been destroyed, which was the plan. So they could then go in and take the things they want to take. So, but those who are coming through Mexico right now and trying to reach our southern border, they could say it's a caravan of people. And so it's just not 10 or 20 people. This is hundreds, if not thousands of people. And what this is a test of America's resolve. You see, this same cabal of people who start things like the Iraq War, 9/11. These are the same people that put these things in motion and invite people by the thousands into the United States completely illegally. Many are gang members. All right? So, regardless of politics, okay, this isn't not a Democrat versus Republican thing. What this is this is good versus evil. Someday people are going to understand what that means. Now, are the majority of the guys the bad guys on the left? Absolutely. Pretty much everybody in government in California, anybody on the left, they do two things. Whatever a Christian would do, or what would Jesus do, so to speak. You remember those old things, what would Jesus do? Those arm bracelets we used to have. They ask themselves that question, and then they do the opposite. And then they ask themselves, what would the citizens of the United States like to have done? And then they do the opposite. Because whether it's Christ or whether it's the American people, the American citizens, the people that have been here for generations, the people who have been here since the very beginning of this country, the idea is to overthrow the country. And so you're not going to side with those people. If you want to overthrow the United States, it can't be done militarily, but it can be done by a displacement of American citizens by non-American citizens. That's the way you take over the United States. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what this is. Have you ever gone to a neighborhood that you used to live in? Come and you go back sometime later, maybe 10 years later, you go back. Has that neighborhood ever been better than when you left? Or is it much worse? Much, much worse than when you left. Most times unrecognizable. The same people aren't there. The same things aren't there. It's not the same neighborhood. It's not safe anymore. I don't know of anybody who has left, moved away from a certain neighborhood, come back to visit or whatever a decade later and say, wow, this place is really improved. This place is much nicer than when I used to live here 10 years ago. No, it's destroyed when you come back. A lot of times you can't even recognize the place at all. I mean, you may look at the street sign and technically you are in the right place, but you look around. It's not the place that you were 10 years ago. And that's very common. I know in my experience. I've seen neighborhoods that were upper middle class neighborhoods, very nice neighborhoods, come back sometime later, a decade, 2 decades later, and it's absolutely destroyed. I mean, it's everything that was great about it before. It's destroyed. It was once pristine and very well kept. Now it's a dump. And if you let enough years get by, what's going to happen? It's like a cancer rolling over the United States. And year after year, there's less and less real estate. Eventually you'll have nowhere to move to. You see, we often think of it, just gonna have to move. We just moved somewhere else. Eventually there won't be any place left to move. And by that time, it's too late. It's over. You've been conquered from the inside. Because we've been nice for way too long. We've been tiptoeing around, making sure we don't hurt anybody's feelings, making sure that everybody likes us, and that we're nice. We're nice to the people who who need us to be nice because, you know, they can't make it. They have a handicap of sorts, you see. We're privileged, and they are not privileged, and they're kind of slow, and they're not real bright, and so you have to, you know, you have to baby them. You know, spoon feed them everything. Never say a thing. Never say anything against them. You always gotta give them a hand up like a child. It's like you're raising a child. But those who are coming to our country, if President Trump does indeed send the military there, he needs to repel that invasion because it's a test. And he needs to get that wall up as fast as he can. Look, folks, all we gotta do, all right, if you don't believe the things I'm saying, or you think I'm a racist, you think I'm this, I'm that, just, you know, talk to the citizens of the UK. Ask them how the invasion improved their country. Ask Sweden how the invasion improved their country. Ask France. Ask France what it's like to be invaded. Well, they'll tell you, don't let them in. Don't let them in. They'll destroy everything. You'll be able to go from sleeping at night comfortably in your bed to not being able to sleep at night. In South Africa, it's so bad that the white farmers, called the Boer, they never know when they go to sleep at night whether or not they'll ever wake up the next day because they're being killed off systematically, sponsored by the government. And they blatantly come out, kill the white man, kill the farmer, kill the Boer. This is a reality, folks. And this is happening all over the place. Now, if these folks take over, do you think it's going to be a utopian dream as it ever been before? People who get conquered get enslaved. People who get conquered get killed. So you may be a bleeding heart liberal, but you need to wake up. They're not going to give you a pass just because you were dumb enough to let them in. They're going to kill you too. They're not going to look for your political registration card to see what side you're on. They don't care what side you're on. So this is serious stuff, folks. We got to think about this. We got to stop it. We got to stop it. We've been so nice. We've been so nice for so long. What has it gotten us? It gets us a country that's worse and worse every year. A world that's worse every year. So I hope that you will stand up, stand against this. We got to get control of our border. We got to get control of immigration. Because it's a nightmare. Not just here, around the world. You got to get smart. You got to stop listening to those crazy teachers of yours. Those leftists, those Marxist teachers. It doesn't work, folks. Marxism doesn't work. It fails. People die. Democide. Google democide. Democide is death by government. If you are anti-serial killer, then you would definitely not want to be okay with a government. Governments can kill on an industrial scale. Serial killer kills 10, 15, 20 people. The government could kill 10, 15, 20 million people. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is the end of the episode 1 of the Michael Ray Channel podcast. We'll have more to come pretty soon. I will be in LA coming up this week, and I will see what's going on down there and report back to you my findings. And so, until then, adios and have a great week.